The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the street in Hong Kong's Kowloon district. Bruce Lee had just finished a grueling training session at his school and was heading to meet friends for dinner. His muscles ached pleasantly, and his mind was already contemplating the philosophy he would discuss with his students tomorrow. That's when he saw her. A small girl, no more than 7 or 8 years old, sat on the corner near a vegetable stand. Her clothes were worn thin, patched in several places, and her bare feet were dusty from the street. She held a small tin cup in her hands. As Bruce walked past, she looked up at him with dark, hopeful eyes. "Sir," she said quietly in Cantonese, "could you spare something? My mother is sick, and I need to buy groceries. Just $1, please." Bruce stopped. The street bustled around them. Vendors calling out prices, bicycles rattling past, the smell of steamed buns and roasted chestnuts filling the air. But in that moment, he only saw the girl. What happened next surprised the shopkeepers who had grown accustomed to shooing her away. Bruce didn't just reach into his pocket. Instead, he knelt down on one knee so he could look the girl in the eye. "What's your name?" he asked. "May," she whispered. "May, do you know who I am?" She shook her head. "My name is Bruce, and I want to tell you something important." He paused, making sure she was listening. "You asked me for $1, but I'm going to give you something worth much more than that." The girl's eyes widened. Bruce reached into his pocket and pulled out several bills, far more than $1. But he didn't hand them over immediately. "This money will buy groceries for today, maybe tomorrow." "But then what? You'll be back here again, won't you?" May nodded slowly, uncertain. "Here's what we're going to do," Bruce said, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm going to give you this money for your mother. But I'm also going to teach you something. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless like water. Water can flow, or it can crash. You must be like water, May." The girl looked confused. Bruce smiled warmly. "What I mean is this. Life will try to shape you, to break you down. But you have a choice. You can let circumstances defeat you, or you can adapt, flow around obstacles, and find your way forward. Right now, you're asking for help. That's brave. That's smart. But tomorrow, I want you to think about what else you can do." He placed the money in her cup, but he also placed something else. A small card with an address written on it. "This is my school. When your mother is better, I want you to come there. Tell them Bruce sent you. I'll make sure you learn skills, not just martial arts, but discipline, focus, ways to help yourself and your family. Can you remember that?" May clutched the card and the money, tears forming in her eyes. "Yes, sir. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Bruce said, standing up. "Thank me when you've used what you learn to help someone else. Someday." The shopkeepers who witnessed this exchange were stunned. They had expected him to walk past, or perhaps toss a coin. But he had done something different. He had seen the girl as a person with potential, not just someone in need. As Bruce walked away, he couldn't help but think of his own childhood. He remembered the struggles his family faced, the times when pride had to be swallowed, when help had to be asked for. He remembered the people who had seen potential in him when he was just a scrappy kid getting into street fights. 3 weeks later, the sun was just rising over Hong Kong when May opened her eyes. The card Bruce had given her sat under her pillow every night since that day. Her mother was doing better. The fever had finally broken after they bought medicine with the money Bruce had given them. "Mama," May whispered, "do you remember that man? The one who helped us?" Her mother, Lynn, nodded weakly from her bed in their tiny room. "How could I forget? He saved us. He gave me an address. He said to come to his school." Lynn sighed deeply. May, we can't afford a martial arts school. We barely have enough for food. He said to come. He promised. Something in May's voice, the determination, the hope, made Lynn pause. How long had it been since she'd seen that spark in her daughter's eyes? All right, she said finally. When I'm strong enough to walk, we'll go together. 2 weeks later. Bruce's school was located in a modest building on the second floor, above a tea shop. The sounds of striking and training shouts could be heard from the street. May stood outside with her mother, gripping her hand tightly. Maybe we shouldn't, Lynn whispered. Look at this place. He must have hundreds of students waiting. But before they could turn away, the door opened. A young man in training clothes stepped out. Can I help you? He asked. May pulled out the card, now crumpled from being held so many times. Bruce sent me. The young man's eyes widened. Wait here. He disappeared into the building. May and her mother could hear conversation inside, but couldn't make out the words. Then, footsteps on the stairs. Bruce Lee appeared at the door, sweaty from training, but with a wide smile on his face. May, you came. You told me to come, she replied, surprised by her own boldness. And you remembered. That's the first lesson. Words only have power when you turn them into action. He looked at Lynn. You must be May's mother. Please, come inside. Both of you. They climbed the narrow stairs into a large, open room. Students were practicing forms, their movements synchronized and powerful. The walls were lined with traditional weapons and photographs of Bruce with various masters and students. Bruce led them to a small office at the back. Please, sit. Lynn spoke first, her voice trembling. Mr. Lee, we cannot pay. Bruce held up his hand. I didn't ask May to come here for money. I asked her to come here because I saw something in her eyes that day. Hunger. Not just for food, but for something more. Am I right, May? May nodded, not trusting her voice. When I was young, not much older than you, I was angry at the world, Bruce continued. My family had money, but I felt poor in spirit. I got into fights. I caused trouble. Then someone saw past my anger and taught me martial arts. But more than that, they taught me discipline. They taught me that my energy could be channeled into something constructive rather than destructive. He leaned forward. May, I don't know your full story, but I know what it's like to feel powerless. Martial arts won't solve all your problems. It won't put food on the table tomorrow. But it will give you something more valuable. It will teach you that you have power within yourself. Power to change your circumstances. Power to protect yourself and those you love. Power to become more than what the world expects of you. Lynn wiped tears from her eyes. Why would you do this for strangers? Because someone did it for me, Bruce said simply. And because I believe that the true purpose of martial arts is not to create fighters, but to create strong human beings who can face life's challenges with courage and grace. He turned back to May. But I need to know something from you. Are you willing to work hard? Training is not easy. You will be tired. You will be sore. Some days you'll want to quit. Can you commit to that? May thought about the nights she'd gone to bed hungry. She thought about watching her mother cough and shake with fever while she could do nothing. She thought about feeling invisible as people walked past her on the street. Yes, she said firmly. I can. Then we begin tomorrow, 4 o'clock before school if you attend, or before the day begins. We start early because that's when your mind is clearest and your determination strongest. 6 months later. The autumn air was cool as May executed a perfect sidekick, her small frame now toned with developing muscle. Sweat dripped down her face, but her eyes were focused, determined. Good, Bruce called out. Again, and remember, it's not about the power of your leg, It's about the power of your entire body moving as one. Everything connects. Around her, other students practiced their forms. May had been nervous at first. Most of the students were older, bigger, from families who could afford proper training uniforms. She wore borrowed clothes that were too large for her, but Bruce treated her no differently than any other student. In fact, he was harder on her. "Why do you push her so much?" one of the senior students, Daniel, had asked Bruce one day. "Because she has the most to prove," Bruce had replied. "Not to me, to herself. May came here believing she was powerless. Every technique she masters, every challenge she overcomes, she's rewriting that story." And it was true. May had changed. She stood taller now. When she walked through the market, she no longer looked at the ground. Her mother had noticed, too. Lynn had found work cleaning offices in the evening, and while it wasn't much, it was steady. May would train in the morning, attend the free community school Bruce had helped her enroll in, help her mother in the afternoon, and then study in the evening. "May," Bruce called her over after class one day. "Come here. I want to talk to you." She approached, slightly nervous. Had she done something wrong? "You've been training for 6 months now," Bruce said. "You've learned the basic forms, you've developed discipline, and you've shown up every single day. Not once have you been late. Not once have you made an excuse. Do you know how rare that is?" May shook her head. "Very rare. Even students who pay full tuition, who come from comfortable homes, they miss days. They make excuses. But not you." He paused. "Why?" May thought carefully before answering. "Because this is the first thing that's ever been mine. The first thing no one can take away from me." Bruce smiled, a deep satisfaction in his eyes. "Exactly. That's what I wanted you to understand. Your skills, your discipline, your spirit, these belong to you. Now I want to teach you the next level." "The next level?" "Yes. You've learned to master your body. Now it's time to learn to master your mind. Philosophy. Strategy. The mental aspects of martial arts that separate a fighter from a warrior." Over the following months, Bruce spent extra time with May after regular classes. He taught her about the concept of Wu Wei, effortless action, about how to remain calm in chaos, about how to read an opponent not by their movements, but by their intentions. "A true martial artist," Bruce told her one evening as they sat watching the sunset from the school's rooftop, "is not someone who seeks to fight. A true martial artist is someone who has become so aware, so present, so capable, that they rarely need to fight at all. Their confidence deters conflict. Their awareness prevents surprise. Their skill makes them dangerous enough that they can afford to be gentle." "Is that why you helped me that day?" May asked. "Because you didn't have to fight me or prove anything?" Bruce laughed. "Smart girl. Yes, exactly. I had nothing to prove. So I was free to simply see what was needed and provide it." See ya. 1 year later. The school was buzzing with excitement. Bruce had organized a demonstration day where students would showcase their skills for their families and the community. It was also a fundraiser. The school offered scholarships to students who couldn't afford tuition, and Bruce wanted to expand that program. May stood backstage, her heart pounding. She had been chosen to demonstrate a form, not because she was the most advanced student, but because Bruce said her journey represented what martial arts was truly about. "You're going to tell your story," he had said, "and then you're going to show them what you've become." Her mother sat in the front row, wearing her best dress. Next to her sat Mrs. Chen from the vegetable stand and Mr. Wong from the tea shop below the school. People from the neighborhood who had watched May's transformation. Bruce stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming today. Martial arts is often misunderstood. People think it's about violence, about fighting, about domination. But the Chinese characters for martial arts, wushu, literally mean the art of stopping conflict. True martial arts is about creating strong, confident, capable human beings who don't need to prove themselves through violence. He gestured to May. I'd like to introduce you to one of our students. May, please come out. May walked onto the stage, her training uniform crisp and clean, a gift from the school. She looked so different from the small, dusty girl who had sat on the street corner a year ago. May, Bruce said gently. Tell them why you're here. May's voice was soft at first, but grew stronger as she spoke. A year ago, I was sitting on a street corner begging for money to buy food for my sick mother. I felt invisible. I felt powerless. I felt like I didn't matter. She paused, looking at her mother, who was crying quietly. Then a man stopped and knelt down to look at me. Not down at me, but at me like I was a person. Me, who mattered. He gave me money. But he also gave me something more important. He gave me a chance. She turned to Bruce. Master Li taught me martial arts, yes. I can defend myself now. I'm strong now. But that's not the most important thing he taught me. He taught me that I had power inside me all along, that I wasn't powerless, that I could change my life through discipline, hard work, and believing in myself. The audience was completely silent. Today, I'm going to perform a form, but I want you to know, every movement represents something. Every kick is me kicking away the belief that I'm not good enough. Every punch is me fighting for my future. Every stance is me standing firm in who I'm becoming. And then she began. The form was beautiful, precise, powerful. But more than that, it was authentic. Every movement came from a real place, a real struggle, a real victory. When she finished, the room exploded in applause. People were on their feet. Her mother was sobbing with pride. Bruce stepped forward and placed his hand on May's shoulder. This is what martial arts is about. Not just teaching people to fight, but teaching people to transform. May came here as a girl who thought she had nothing. She's leaving as a young woman who knows she has everything she needs inside herself. He looked out at the audience. How many of you would like to help us provide more scholarships? More chances for young people like May? Hands went up across the room. Donations poured in. The event raised enough money to fund scholarships for 20 students for the following year. 5 years later, May, now 13, sat in the same small office where she'd first spoken with Bruce. But today, she sat in his chair while he stood, preparing tea. So, Bruce said, you wanted to talk to me about something? Yes, Master Li. I've been thinking about my future. Tell me. I want to become a teacher, like you. I want to help other kids who feel like I felt, who think they don't matter, who think they're powerless. Bruce poured the tea slowly, mindfully. That's a beautiful goal. But it's also a challenging one. Teaching is not just about knowing techniques. It's about understanding people, about seeing potential when others see problems, about patience. I know, May said. That's why I wanted to ask you. Could I start helping with the beginner classes? Not as a teacher yet, but as an assistant? I could work with the younger students. Bruce considered this. You're young to be teaching. But then again, you have something valuable to offer. Recent experience. You remember what it's like to be where they are. He sat down across from her. I'll agree on one condition. You must promise me that you'll never forget where you came from. Not because I want you to stay stuck in the past, but because that's your gift. Your struggle is what allows you to connect with others who are struggling. Your transformation is what gives hope to others that they can transform too. I promise, May said solemnly. Then yes. Starting next week, you'll assist with the children's beginner class. But May, teaching is a different kind of challenge than learning. You'll need even more patience, more understanding, more discipline. I'm ready, Master Li. 10 years later, Bruce Lee stood at the airport in Hong Kong, preparing to board a flight to Los Angeles. His career was taking off in America, and Hollywood was calling. It was bittersweet, leaving his school, his students, his home. Among the crowd gathered to see him off was May, now 18 and one of the senior instructors at the school. She had grown into a confident young woman, teaching not just martial arts, but life skills to underprivileged children throughout Kowloon. Master Li, she said, approaching him. I brought you something. She handed him a small package wrapped in red paper. What's this? Open it later, on the plane. But I wanted to say thank you for seeing me when I was invisible, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself, for teaching me that being powerful doesn't mean being strong. It means knowing your worth. Bruce felt emotion welling up. May, you did all the work. I just opened a door. You walked through it. No, she said firmly. You did more than that. You knelt down on a dirty street corner and looked a poor, hungry girl in the eye like she mattered. That changed everything. She paused, then added, I have 17 students now in my own after-school program. Kids from the streets, like I was. I tell every single one of them about the day you stopped for me, about how one moment of kindness can change someone's entire life. Bruce pulled her into a hug. Keep teaching, May. Keep opening doors for others. That's the true legacy of martial arts. Not the fights we win, but the lives we change. As his flight was called, Bruce waved goodbye to the crowd. On the plane, he opened May's gift. Inside was a small card, the same card he'd given her 10 years ago, now yellowed and worn, and wrapped around it was a note. Master Li, I'm giving this back to you. Not because I don't need it anymore, but because I want you to remember, you did this. You changed a life with one simple act of kindness. I hope that wherever you go, whatever success you find, you remember the power you have to change lives just by seeing people as they can be, not as they are. You told me to thank you when I used what I learned to help someone else. Well, I've helped 17 someones so far, and I'm just getting started. Thank you for teaching me to be like water. With infinite gratitude, May. Bruce Lee looked out the window at the clouds below, a smile on his face. He thought about the philosophy he'd been developing, Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. About how martial arts was really about stripping away the unnecessary to find truth. About how the greatest fight was not against an opponent, but against one's own limitations. And he realized that May had understood it all along. She had intercepted her own destiny, deflected the poverty and hopelessness that had been her trajectory, and transformed herself into something powerful and beautiful. That was the true art. That was the true legend. Not the kicks or the punches or the movies he would make, but the lives changed by simple acts of human kindness and recognition. As the plane carried him toward his future, Bruce made a silent promise. No matter how famous he became, no matter how busy life got, he would never stop seeing people. Really seeing them. The way he'd seen May that day on a street corner in Hong Kong. Because that, not fighting, not fame, was the true way of the warrior.